December in the office is supposed to be quiet. Fewer emails, fake smiles, maybe a bonus. Instead, it's the most dangerous time of the year. Because this is when fully grown adults look at HR and say, "I'd like to file a complaint." Not about work, about feelings, about vibes, about nonsense. And they are completely serious. 1. A finance bro actually tried to return his $5,000 cash bonus to payroll. Why on earth would anyone do that? Because the money was issued in $50 bills instead of hundreds, and the stack was too thick for his designer wallet. He filed a formal complaint stating that the extra bulk ruined the silhouette of his skinny jeans and demanded they reprint a check so he wouldn't look lumpy at the club. This is a level of suffering the rest of us can only dream of. 2. Does gifting someone a vanilla-scented candle constitute workplace harassment? According to one marketing assistant, yes, it does. She lodged a complaint against her Secret Santa, claiming the vanilla bean scent was a passive-aggressive way of calling her personality basic and boring. She didn't just want an exchange. She wanted a formal apology and a gift receipt, so she could buy something that smelled like executive presence instead. 3. The inflatable snowman in the lobby had to go. That was the demand from an IT manager who walked into HR on December 1st, genuinely furious. He claimed the snowman was smiling at him in a condescending manner that undermined his authority. He insisted the maintenance crew deflate the decoration every time he walked past because the cheerful plastic face was mocking his stress levels. Apparently, plastic joy is a direct threat to IT management. 4. Caloric sabotage and hostile work environment. Those were the specific terms a sales representative used to describe the receptionist bringing homemade fudge to the holiday potluck. He accused her of attacking his winter body goals and filed a grievance because he has zero self-control. He told management he was forced to eat 6 pieces against his will and wanted her written up for endangering his fitness journey. 5. It wasn't laziness, it was physics. That was the defense a junior developer used when caught sleeping at his desk during the end-of-year crunch. He filed a counter-complaint claiming the office fluorescent lights hummed at a specific frequency that medically induced narcolepsy. His demand? Replace every light in the building with vintage Edison bulbs to match his aura, or he would be forced to continue his daily naps for health reasons. 6. A senior accountant demanded a new hire be banished to the basement immediately. Her crime wasn't incompetence, it was perfect pitch. The accountant complained that her humming of holiday carols was so accurate it made him feel insecure about his own lack of musical talent. He requested she be banned from humming anything composed after 1980 because her joy was effectively distracting him from his miserable spreadsheets. 7. 70 degrees is apparently the temperature where finance begins to crumble. A customer service agent formally grieved that the office thermostat was set too low, which she claimed caused her expensive nail polish to chip prematurely. She actually brought a spreadsheet of her salon expenses to HR and demanded a raise to cover the thermal damage. Her proposed solution was cranking the heat up to a tropical 85 degrees, regardless of everyone else sweating to death. 8. You have to admire the audacity of this logistics coordinator. After a massive snowstorm, he filed a complaint against the landscaping company. Not because they did a bad job, but because they piled the snow in a spot that blocked the view of his new truck from his desk window. He told HR that staring at his vehicle was the only thing keeping him sane, and blocking his line of sight constituted mental anguish. 9. On December 31st, a warehouse manager decided to launch a preemptive strike against office culture. He demanded a company-wide memo forbidding anyone from asking him about his New Year's resolutions. He argued that asking if he planned to join a gym was a microaggression against his lifestyle. He threatened to report anyone who uttered the phrase, "New Year, New Me," to the labor board for inflicting emotional distress. 10. We have a case of grand larceny in the break room. The day after the holiday party, a graphic designer demanded security review the camera footage to catch a quiche thief. She was furious that a tray of leftover mini quiches was gone. Her logic? Even though she arrived late and didn't eat any at the party, she had mentally claimed the leftovers as compensation. She wanted the person who ate the communal food fired for stealing her lunch. 11. An operations manager escalated a minor annoyance into a full-blown crisis regarding the company holiday e-card. He was furious that people kept hitting reply all to say thanks, cluttering his inbox. The irony? He sent a mass email to the entire company, including the CEO, with the subject line, "Stop emailing me," effectively spamming everyone even harder than the original culprits. He argued that deleting 30 emails caused him carpal tunnel syndrome and requested workers' comp for his thumb. 12. You can't reserve a public parking spot, but don't tell that to the sales lead in Chicago? She took issue with a colleague who moved her placeholder, which was a crude snowman she had built to save the spot closest to the door. She claimed the snowman was company property since she built it on the clock, and moving it was technically vandalism. She actually wanted security to treat the melting lump of snow as a victim of assault and check the cameras. 13. It is the ultimate nightmare scenario. A payroll clerk went straight to HR after winning the office ugly sweater contest. The problem? She wasn't participating in the contest. She was just wearing her favorite vintage cardigan that her grandmother knitted for her. She demanded the prize money, a $20 coffee shop gift card, be converted into a settlement for emotional damages, claiming the accidental victory was a hate crime against her fashion sense. 14. Can a virtual background be considered an occupational hazard? A remote data analyst formally objected to his team lead's choice of a tropical beach background during the year-end strategy call. He argued that seeing palm trees and blue water while he was stuck in a blizzard in Ohio caused him severe seasonal depression and vacation envy. He requested a ban on all non-neutral backgrounds to prevent further psychological torment to those living in cold climates. 15. A marketing intern raised a grievance against the office admin for buying the wrong wrapping paper for the charity drive. The paper featured tiny penguins wearing scarves. The intern insisted that penguins do not wear scarves in the wild and that anthropomorphizing flightless birds was anti-science and compromised the company's integrity. She refused to wrap a single toy until they bought biologically accurate paper or a solid color that didn't spread zoological misinformation. 16. When the office manager switched to a generic coffee brand to save the remaining budget, the lead developer didn't just get mad. He petitioned management for a hazard pay increase. He claimed the cheaper roast lacked the necessary caffeine content to keep him functional, forcing his body into withdrawal. He argued that without the premium bean juice, his code quality would drop by 40%, costing the company millions in potential bugs. 17. During a team-building gingerbread house competition, an architect flagged a competitor's structure for zoning violations. He was dead serious. He argued that the other team's use of pretzel sticks for load-bearing walls was structurally unsound and a safety hazard for the gummy bears living inside. He wanted the judges to condemn the edible property and disqualify the team for gross negligence in confectionery construction. 18. Comic Sans is annoying, sure, but is it a fireable offense? A graphic designer lashed out at the CEO's executive assistant for sending the company-wide holiday schedule in Comic Sans font. He claimed the font choice caused him physical eye strain and professional embarrassment. He actually refused to acknowledge the email's existence, resulting in him missing work on a mandatory inventory day because he could not ethically read such typographic trash. 19. A junior associate cried foul when the leftover catering sandwiches were predominantly vegetarian options. He argued that the company was engaging in protein discrimination by leaving him with only cucumber and cream cheese wraps. He insisted that the company owed him a steak dinner to balance his macros, stating that eating vegetables for lunch made him feel weak and unable to close deals effectively. 20. We all have that one coworker who loves the holidays too much, but a logistics manager sought disciplinary action against a receptionist for saying "good morning" with aggressive cheerfulness. He claimed her high energy before 9 a.m. was a form of toxic positivity that created a hostile environment for night owls. He requested she be prohibited from speaking above a whisper until at least 10:30, or until he had finished his second coffee. 21. A staff accountant lodged a formal dispute regarding the Secret Santa spending limit of $20. She discovered her gift giver had spent $19.50, leaving 50 cents unspent. She argued this was embezzlement of potential joy and demanded the remaining 50 cents in cash. She actually produced a spreadsheet showing how that 50 cents could have purchased a fun-sized chocolate bar, which she was now owed with interest. 22. This might be the peak of delusion. An event planner blamed HR for the lack of snow on the day of the office winter party. The party was indoors, but she claimed the lack of white stuff outside the windows ruined the winter wonderland aesthetic she had promised in the invite. She genuinely asked why the company hadn't rented snow machines to cover the parking lot, accusing them of being cheap and ruining her Instagram engagement. 23. After hearing "All I Want for Christmas Is You" for the 5th time in one elevator ride, a sales director threatened legal action against building management. He claimed the repetitive playlist was a form of psychological torture prohibited by the Geneva Convention. He demanded the elevator music be switched to heavy metal or complete silence, stating that Mariah Carey's high notes were causing his blood pressure to spike to dangerous levels. 24. A warehouse supervisor filed a formal grievance because the vending machine was stocked with the wrong kind of holiday food. His issue was not availability, but vibe. He argued that protein bars, trail mix, and anything labeled low sugar created emotional pressure to make healthy choices during a sacred season of indulgence. He demanded the machine be refilled with candy bars, soda, and baked goods immediately, claiming that denying him junk food during December was a violation of his mental health plan and an attack on his coping mechanisms. 25. A junior copywriter escalated a surprisingly philosophical complaint about the CEO's holiday card. The card featured the CEO's golden retriever wearing a Santa hat, but did not include photos of his actual children. The employee argued this blurred the line between pets and humans and created hierarchical confusion in the workplace. She demanded a clarification memo explaining whether the dog held any decision-making power, voting rights, or informal authority over employees lower on the org chart. 26. An executive assistant flagged a critical safety issue regarding her ergonomic chair. It wasn't about back support, it was about spin velocity. She claimed the chair didn't spin fast enough when she did her victory twirls after sending difficult emails. She argued that the friction in the wheels was dampening her morale and requested the maintenance crew grease the bearings so she could achieve maximum centrifugal force during her daily celebrations. 27. The diversity and inclusion team received a baffling complaint from a sales associate who felt culturally erased during the holidays. His issue was that no one acknowledged Toyotathon. He insisted the annual car sales event was the most important seasonal tradition in his household, and that ignoring it constituted discrimination against his values. He demanded festive dealership-style decorations in the lobby, including giant red bows and financing slogans, so he could feel seen and spiritually supported during 0% APR season. 28. Free alcohol is usually a perk, but not for one discerning creative director. He raised a formal dispute because the company holiday party served Prosecco instead of authentic champagne from the Champagne region of France. He argued that serving sparkling wine from California was an insult to his sophisticated palate and constituted a breach of contract regarding the quality of life he was promised during his hiring interview. 29. When the CEO announced a snow day, allowing everyone to work from home, a senior paralegal didn't celebrate. Instead, she petitioned HR to reimburse her for the heating bill at her apartment. She argued that if she came to the office, the company paid for the heat, So by staying home, she was unfairly subsidizing the firm's utility costs. She actually sent an invoice for $4.12, representing 8 hours of furnace usage. 30. The company hired a professional gift wrapper for employee convenience, but a regional manager found a way to be unhappy. He lodged a complaint because the wrapper used tape that was too sticky. He claimed that his children would struggle to open the presents, leading to Christmas morning tantrums. He demanded the wrapper be fired for structural over-engineering and asked for a cash refund on the free service he hadn't even paid for. 31. Taxes are annoying, but this is next level. A graphic designer marched into payroll to report a theft. He was convinced the company had stolen 40% of his bonus. When explained that it was federal and state tax withholding, he refused to accept that answer. He insisted that the company should have paid the taxes for him as a surprise gift, arguing that receiving a net amount lower than the gross amount was false advertising. 32. An IT specialist escalated a ticket regarding a coworker's heartfelt apology email. After a tense meeting, the coworker sent a sorry note but used the font Papyrus. The IT specialist claimed that reading an apology in an avatar-themed font nullified the sincerity and constituted further aggression. He refused to accept the olive branch until it was resubmitted in Arial or Helvetica with standard business formatting. 33. Jealousy is an ugly color, especially in December. A marketing coordinator reported her cubicle neighbor to the fire marshal, not for a real hazard, but because the neighbor's decorations were too bright. She claimed the twinkling LED lights were outshining her own modest tinsel display and stealing attention from her desk. She argued the lumen count violated OSHA standards for visual distraction, though she really just wanted to win the decorating contest by default. 34. A grown man, a senior auditor, filed a restraining order against the office elf on the shelf. He told security that he had a phobia of small dolls with watching eyes. Every time the receptionist moved the elf to a new location, he claimed it was stalking him. He demanded the doll be locked in a dark drawer or face immediate termination for creating a surveillance state within the accounting department. 35. The break-room coffee machine was finally deep cleaned before the holiday break, and a software engineer was furious. He took issue with the fact that the flavor seasoning had been scrubbed away. He argued that the layers of old coffee oil and grime from the last 3 years added a specific terroir to his morning brew. He claimed the clean machine produced soulless, sterile water and demanded they stop cleaning it to preserve the ecosystem of flavor. 36. It is the golden rule of regifting: do not get caught. A sales rep failed this test, and the recipient went nuclear. The recipient filed a grievance because she found a "To Michael Love Mom" tag stuck to the bottom of her new blender. She didn't just want a new gift. She wanted Michael to be publicly shamed in the company newsletter for his lack of effort and for trying to offload his mother's love on a coworker. 37. Gratitude is apparently not in the vocabulary of this senior project manager. When the company announced that, instead of plastic trinkets, they had made a charitable donation in everyone's name to a local animal shelter, he went ballistic. He marched into the CEO's office and argued that the donation was identity theft because he didn't authorize the use of his name for benevolence. He demanded the $50 be refunded to him in cash immediately, stating that he hates puppies and prefers cold, hard currency over saving stray dogs. 38. We have heard of counting calories, but this is ridiculous. A warehouse foreman brought a digital kitchen scale to work on the day the company handed out free frozen turkeys. He weighed his bird, then weighed his coworker's bird, and discovered his was 6 ounces lighter. He formally petitioned HR for poultry equity, claiming the weight difference was a symbolic gesture of how much the company undervalued his leadership. He refused to leave until they cut a slice off another turkey to balance the scales. 39. Visual pollution is what a creative director called the sweater worn by the IT support guy. She didn't just make a snide comment. She opened an official ticket with HR regarding the sweater's aesthetic offense. She claimed the clashing patterns of reindeer and palm trees caused her migraines and disrupted her creative flow. She actually requested a policy update that would require all holiday attire to be pre-approved by the design team to ensure it adhered to the company's brand guidelines. 40. A junior analyst took the concept of screen time way too personally. After the year-end recap video was played at the town hall meeting, he spent the afternoon frame by frame analyzing the footage. He discovered he appeared for only 3.5 seconds, while his rival in accounting was on screen for 5 seconds. He flagged this as promotional bias and demanded the video be re-edited to give him equal exposure, or for the accounting department to be blurred out entirely to level the playing field. 41. A sales associate filed a formal complaint after receiving a $5 scratch-off lottery ticket from her Secret Santa. She scratched it, won nothing, and immediately escalated the situation. Her argument was that the gift carried an implied promise of potential winnings, and by receiving a losing ticket, she had been gifted disappointment. She demanded the coworker reimburse her the $5 for the lost opportunity, stating that emotional optimism had real monetary value and she should not have to absorb that loss alone. 42. A remote worker logged a ticket with IT that had nothing to do with software and everything to do with entitlement. He was furious that the mute button existed on Zoom. During a heated end-of-year review, his manager muted him to finish a sentence. The worker claimed this was a violation of his First Amendment rights and a breach of the user agreement. He insisted that IT disable the mute function company-wide so that his interruptions could never be silenced again by tyrannical management. 43. Feng Shui is a practice of harmony, but this office manager used it for war. She refused to sit at her assigned desk after the December restructure, claiming the new location faced a death angle that would ruin her chakras for the coming year. She submitted a 20-page report on energy flow and demanded the company knock down a structural wall to improve the QI in her cubicle. When refused, she threatened to work from the lobby floor where the energy was less hostile. 44. Most people are happy to get a free branded hoodie, but a fashion-conscious intern raised a serious concern about the color. The swag was navy blue, but he argued that he was a winter palette, and navy washed him out, making him look sickly. He accused the marketing team of sabotaging his professional image by choosing a color that didn't complement his undertones. He demanded a custom run of hoodies in charcoal gray, or a settlement to cover the cost of a spray tan to counteract the blue. 45. A paralegal took issue with the festive Happy Holidays banner hung in the break room. Her problem wasn't religious, it was grammatical. She found a missing Oxford comma in the subtext of the sign. She argued that the grammatical error undermined the legal authority of the firm and made them look like amateurs to visiting clients. She refused to eat lunch in the room until the banner was taken down and corrected with a Sharpie, claiming looking at it caused her physical pain. 46. Theft of intellectual property was the charge a sales director leveled against a junior rep. The crime? The junior rep had used the same joke about the coffee machine breaking down that the director had used a week earlier. The director claimed he had trademarked that bit through usage and that the rep was riding his coattails to get cheap laughs at the water cooler. He wanted a cease and desist order issued to prevent the rep from being funny during company hours. 47. A customer support agent went straight to the top to complain about the janitorial staff. His grievance? They were doing too good of a job. He claimed that by emptying his trash bin every night, they were throwing away his organizational system. He argued that he kept important sticky notes and half-eaten snacks in the bin for later retrieval, and clearing it out was an invasion of his personal filing method. He demanded a "Do Not Empty" sign for his garbage can immediately. 48. The company sent out a nice email listing everyone's birthdays for the upcoming year, but one employee was not having it. She flagged the email as a hostile act because her birthday falls on February 29th. Since it wasn't a leap year, her name was omitted from the list. She accused the HR department of calendar discrimination and erasing her existence. She demanded they declare February 28th as her observed holiday and throw her a party twice as big to apologize for the erasure. 49. An operations lead escalated a situation involving the communal fridge's temperature settings. He claimed his yogurt was freezing slightly at the back of the shelf, which ruined the texture. Instead of moving his yogurt, he demanded the fridge temperature be raised to 45 degrees. When told this would spoil everyone else's food and violate health codes, he argued that creamy yogurt is more important than food safety regulations and threatened to unplug the fridge entirely if his demands weren't met. 50. Vacation envy is apparently a valid reason to call HR now. A project manager formally objected to her colleague's out-of-office auto-reply message. The message simply said, "I am currently on a beach drinking margaritas, and you are not." The manager argued that this tone was braggadocious and hurtful to those left behind in the freezing cold office. She demanded the auto-reply be changed to something more professional and miserable, or for the company to fund a tropical trip for her to balance the emotional scales. 51. Class warfare broke out in the restrooms of a corporate law firm. A junior associate discovered that the executive washroom on the top floor was stocked with ultra-plush 3-ply toilet paper, while the general staff restrooms only had industrial-grade single-ply sandpaper. He filed a grievance claiming rectal discrimination. He argued that the partner's sensitive posteriors were not legally more important than his own, and threatened to steal the executive roles daily until equality was achieved across all bathroom stalls. 52. Hypocrisy is annoying, but this IT director took it to a judicial level. He raised a dispute regarding a coworker's email signature, which included a large green banner saying, "Please consider the environment before printing this email." The IT director pointed out that the banner itself used so much green ink that it was actually causing more waste when people inevitably printed the emails anyway. He demanded the eco-shaming signature be banned for being logically bankrupt and a drain on the toner budget. 53. A marketing assistant tried to register her goldfish, named Bubbles, as an emotional support animal so she could bring his tank to her desk. When management said no, she cried foul, accusing them of aquatic bias. She claimed that watching Bubbles swim was the only thing preventing her from having a breakdown during Q4 reports. She argued that since dogs were allowed on Fridays, denying her fish was a violation of her rights as a pet parent to a non-mammal. 54. We all know the rule about not microwaving fish, but one Defiant sales rep turned the tables. When he was reprimanded for reheating leftover salmon, he filed a counter-complaint against the olfactory censorship of the office culture. He argued that his high-protein diet was essential for his brain function and that banning his lunch was a form of health discrimination. He insisted that if people could pop popcorn that smelled like burnt chemicals, he should be allowed to enjoy his fishy feast in peace. 55. Power moves come in all shapes and sizes. A team lead lodged a complaint against his manager for physical demotion. He noticed that every time the manager came to his desk to talk, the manager would subtly lower the team lead's adjustable chair. He claimed this was a psychological tactic to make him feel small and inferior during conversations. He requested a locking mechanism for his chair's hydraulics and a formal apology for the vertical harassment. 56. Typing is a basic office function, but a copywriter escalated a ticket regarding her neighbor's keyboard technique. She described the colleague's typing style as aggressive percussion that sounded like gunfire. She claimed the constant clacking was triggering her fight-or-flight response and causing her heart palpitations. She demanded the company force the loud typer to use a silicone silent keyboard or be moved to a soundproof booth normally reserved for phone calls. 57. FOMO, fear of missing out, drove this administrative assistant to madness. She RSVP'd yes to the holiday party, but decided last minute to stay home on the couch. The next week, she was furious that she didn't receive the attendee gift bag, which contained a branded fleece blanket. She argued that since the company had budgeted for her attendance, the blanket was legally her property. She demanded they courier the item to her house, accusing them of theft by absence. 58. A coffee snob in the accounting department took serious issue with his Secret Santa gift. He received a $20 gift card to Dunkin', but he exclusively drinks Starbucks. He filed a report stating that the gift was an act of cultural insensitivity because everyone knows he refuses to drink low-tier bean water. He actually wanted HR to facilitate a trade or force the gift giver to buy the card back from him at face value so he could purchase a respectable beverage. 59. When New Year's Day fell on a Saturday, the company gave employees the preceding Friday off. However, one entitled graphic designer felt this wasn't enough. He petitioned management for an additional floating holiday, arguing that a weekend holiday didn't count because he was already off work. He claimed that the calendar was cheating him out of free time and that the company had a moral obligation to correct the universe's scheduling error by giving him Monday off as well. 60. Etiquette is subjective, but a customer service rep tried to make it policy. She reported a coworker for neglect because he didn't say "bless you" after she sneezed 3 times in a row. She argued that his silence was a deliberate microaggression indicating he wanted her to get sick and die. She demanded a mandatory "bless you" or Gesundheit protocol be added to the employee handbook to ensure all sneezes were properly acknowledged and spiritually covered. 61. Casual Friday went too far for one operations manager, but not in the way you'd expect. He filed a complaint against a colleague who wore dressy sweatpants to the office. The manager argued that athleisure was a slippery slope to anarchy. He claimed that seeing drawstrings in a professional setting lowered his own productivity by making him want to take a nap. He demanded a strict no elastic waistbands policy be enforced to preserve the sanctity of the workplace. 62. Vanity is a sin, but for this sales executive, it was a hill to die on. He formally objected to his new security badge photo, claiming the lighting was unflattering and made him look washed out and tired. He argued that since he showed his badge to clients, the bad photo was damaging his personal brand and potentially costing the company sales. He refused to wear the badge until the security team brought in a ring light and a professional photographer for a retake. 63. An operations manager didn't just leave a passive-aggressive note. He filed a formal incident report because the janitorial staff installed the toilet paper roll under instead of over. He actually cited the original patent from 1891 to prove the correct orientation. He argued that the under method increased the risk of germ transfer and was a subtle sign of sociopathic tendencies. He demanded the cleaning crew undergo mandatory retraining on the physics of proper hygiene. 64. We have all heard of being sensitive to smells, but this is different. A senior VP escalated a situation regarding the new receptionist's perfume. He wasn't allergic, he just thought it smelled cheap. He argued that her drugstore fragrance was devaluing the company's brand image when high-net-worth clients walked into the lobby. He genuinely requested that a budget be allocated to buy her a bottle of Chanel No. 5 so she would smell up to his corporate standards. 65. During the holiday mixer, a logistics coordinator flagged a serious inventory discrepancy on the charcuterie board. He was furious that there were more crackers than cheese slices. He argued that this ratio imbalance left him with dry carbs and no dairy payoff, which he called a culinary scam. He demanded the catering company return immediately and provide exactly 1 slice of imported brie for every single cracker remaining on the table to rectify the injustice. 66. A junior developer went straight to HR because his manager sent a Slack message in all caps saying, "Great job." The developer claimed that the capitalization constituted digital yelling and made him feel unsafe, even though the words were positive. He insisted the manager attend anger management training to learn how to locate the caps lock key and express praise at a conversational volume that didn't trigger his anxiety. 67. A project lead formally objected to the new ficus plant placed near her desk. She claimed the plant had bad vibes and felt like it was watching her. She argued that the plant's leaves were aggressive and that it was sucking the creativity out of the air. She demanded the green intruder be moved to the finance department immediately, stating that souls go to die in that department anyway, so the plant would fit right in. 68. Petty doesn't even begin to cover this. An account executive filed a theft report because a temp worker used her world's best boss mug. The executive wasn't even a boss. She just liked the irony of the cup. She argued that by drinking from it, the temp was committing stolen valor and undermining the executive's future aspirations of leadership. She demanded the mug be sterilized by a hazmat team and the temp fired for impersonating authority. 69. Finally, the complaint to end all complaints. On December 31st, a senior analyst lodged a formal grievance against the calendar year itself. He argued that the past 12 months had been subpar and failed to meet his performance expectations. He demanded that management refuse to acknowledge the new year and instead extend the current year until his personal goals were met. He refused to update his email date signature, choosing to live in a permanent state of denial rather than face the future. So the real question isn't why HR drinks, it's how they're still sane. Because if any of these complaints sounded familiar, congratulations, you've worked in an office. Now be honest, which one made you angry because you've met that person? Or worse, you are that person. Drop it in the comments and defend yourself like it's an HR hearing. And if this video didn't earn a like, nothing will. Subscribe, because the world is full of grown adults, and they're filing complaints as we speak.